your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy New Year, Eagles fans, and welcome into Locked On Eagles. This is your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, as always, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We thank you for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. I'm Louis DiBiase. He is Gino Camilleri. It's a Friday edition of the show, guys. Episode number 5 of 5, downloaded into your phone wherever you get the podcast. We're available on YouTube as well, on Twitter at Locked On Birds, at GC24_football, and at DiBiase LOE. As always on Fridays, it's Locked On QB1. We're going to talk a lot about Jalen Hurts today as he gears up for 2 more games, has an opportunity on Sunday to clinch a playoff berth for the Birds in his first year as QB1. But Gino, before we kick off the show, it's New Year's 2022 coming tomorrow. We did our 2021 episode, the year in review, on Wednesday, so you can check that out wherever you get your shows. And just want to shout out our fans. I mean, combined with our downloads on our podcast platforms and on YouTube, we hit over 500,000 for the year for the first time in 4 years. So just got to shout out our fans for helping us grow continuously every year since we started this in 2018. And yeah, that was exciting to see for sure. That kind of made my day.
It's one of those things that I really step back every year and I say, man,
yeah,
what is life? Like, I go back 20 years and I'm sitting in my room that was painted midnight green and white as a kid watching these games. And now we get to talk about them each and every day, but it doesn't happen without the fans. If the fans aren't there, Lou, it's just you and I screaming at each other over these microphones.
Which we would still do, but it's cool
absolutely.
That we have like 500,000, people listening.
Yeah, and the thing is, we're going on another season. It's going to be season 5 next year. It's just surreal that we've been together for this long. We just surpassed 750 episodes, on our way to 1,000.
Yep.
And I want to hit that million mark, and it all starts with the fans and just getting the word out there, saying that you love the show and liking, subscribing, rating, and it's free. Like, what day and age can you get something 5 days a week that doesn't require you to pay anything at all? And we love every single one of our fans. We love the interaction on Twitter. Really what keeps me going each and every day. This is my job. I gave up my career in accounting to come do this each and every day. And let me tell you, it was the best decision, all because of the people that tune in each and every day. So thank you guys 100%. So much. 500,000, Lou. Whoo, that's a big
500,000. They didn't roll away after the 2020 season. Everybody came back, and we've had a great 2021. It's been a super fun season, and hopefully the Eagles can get us a playoff appearance to kick off the 2022 season. Of course, Gino, that's going to start under center with the quarterback, with Jalen Hurts. And like I said, today is Locked On QB1. We'll get into our thoughts on Jalen's performances. The last 2 games against Washington and New York, some pretty consistent passing, maybe the most consistent he's been all year as a passer. Still some room to grow as well. And then coming up, like if the Eagles do make the playoffs, I want to take a look at like how the Eagles stack up with their quarterback compared to who they might face in the NFC and just the overall playoff picture. But Gino, before we get into that, again, just overall, what were your thoughts on the game against the Giants? I mean, Hurts started pretty slow again when they were in obvious passing situations, but we talked about it earlier in the week, how he bounced back, how impressive it was. What did you like from the performance from Hurts, and what were some things that were still, areas of improvement for you?
I always look at Jalen and his non-snowball factor, I like to call this, that when things do go bad, he doesn't seem to snowball, because we always got on him, Lou, that in the beginning of the season, his performance came down the stretch when teams like were out of it, they're up big. But hats off to a guy that just doesn't stumble out of the gate. I mean, if he does stumble out of the gate, he doesn't continue to trip and fall along the way. I like that he keeps the team in it no matter what. Outside of that Giants game, he has been in games late in 1-score games down the stretch against the Chargers, even against the Giants in that performance, Lou. They have been doing well with Jalen at the quarterback position by limiting the amount of throws that he makes. They're not putting him over 30 throws a game, which is right where he should be. They're maximizing what he could do in the pass game by getting help from his receivers. And they have that good bond right now, Lou. And he's building that bond with not just Devontae and Dallas Goedert, you've seen it improve with Quez Watkins over the last couple weeks. You've seen that rapport build with Jalen Reagor, and a guy whose confidence was as low as Jalen Reagor to allow a quarterback to trust that player still. Because going back to Carson Wentz, Lou, like you look at the Ertz year, right? When he had all those receptions, what was the main factor of that? It was because he didn't trust the other guys around him. He wanted to feed the one guy that he trusted. Jalen is giving his guys opportunities to go and make plays. And as long as he doesn't turn the ball over and uses his legs to his advantage when necessary, not always needed, but when necessary, that's been his winning performances. And we saw that last week. We saw that against Washington. And I like what he's been doing coming out of the gate in the second half, Lou. He might not start hot in the first quarter, but coming out in that third quarter, he typically does pretty well in those last 2 minutes before half and those first 4 minutes after halftime. Absolutely.
I agree. And I think those are the most important times to be good, and especially this late in the year. That is a huge
I think it's very underrated how important those middle 6 to 8 minutes are in a game. Like, especially when you defer.
Well, it sets the tone.
I mean, it
heading
definitely
into
does.
the locker room, like at halftime, and then coming out of the gate. I mean, that's huge. Like in the NBA, I remember with the Golden State Warriors when they were at the top of their powers. That was the best third quarter team I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Like a 2-point game the doors got blown open by 8 straight threes in the third quarter. And so, yeah, it's a huge strength to have. And overall, like there's some areas of criticism I want to get into with Hurts still in the passing game that were exposed again. But overall, I thought the last 2 games, they started really slow against Washington and against New York. But I thought it was his most consistent passing of the year, where just like areas of improvement that I really liked seeing him stay consistent with, pocket presence, decision-making in the pocket, and also like when he's running, when to run and when to run to open up the pass. His accuracy has been a lot improved. I mean, right now his on-target throws, it's at 78.6%, which is 8th in the NFL. His bad throw percentage is only at 13.6%. That's the 3rd lowest in the NFL. So he is taking strides as a passer. And like you said, I just love seeing him bounce back in the second half. And you mentioned the trust factor. And I think one thing that was good with Carson Wentz at the end of 2019 was he started to trust Greg Ward and, Deontay Burnett down the stretch and Joshua Perkins to make some plays. Because eventually that's all you got. You got to trust them. And I like seeing Hurts give Devontae Smith chances down the field, give Quez Watkins one-on-one balls, even when they aren't wide open, give those guys an opportunity to go get the ball in the air. Like the Dallas Goedert pass on Tuesday night wasn't a great throw, but I like the philosophy of giving Goddard a chance. And so to me, that was really encouraging to see. And I've been pretty happy overall with what he's been as a passer the last couple weeks.
He's just putting like all the good pieces of his game together down the stretch, which is good because even in those games when they were getting the doors blown off them early on, the best part of his game was those 2-minute drills. He won a few games in a row where he was consistently putting them in a position to win in that 2-minute drill going into halftime. And then he adds that on with his trust factor that he started to build. I think Denver was that turning point where he allowed Devontae Smith to go up and catch those balls. And then the accuracy, Lou, I think we have to talk about that in his last 2 games. That has been much improved, removed from those sub 50% completion percentage performances in the middle of the season. Yeah, there was. But now that they're efficient with their passing, they're doing very well with Jalen Hurts in controlling what his output should be with his arm and with his legs. And I think right now is a good combination of everything. He still has to get out of the gate hot. He still has to stop making those silly mistakes where he has one hand on the football when there's 3 guys in the pocket and he ends up fumbling, throwing a bad interception. But you cut out those things, Lou. He's kind of putting it all together in the evolution that you wanted to see in a quarterback who you were evaluating in his first full season. I think you're at least getting questions and a closer culmination to finding your answer in the guy. Either way, you're going to get there at some point, and it could have muddied the waters if he continued to do that snowball effect, which I talked about in many of those games. But answering a lot of those concerns that we had are good things. Even if it takes you a full season to develop them or 16 weeks, show me the development.
Right,
Show me that you're growing.
he's
And he is.
yeah.
He absolutely is.
He's certainly showing a certain level of development and improvement. There are some areas, again, too, though, I want to see. I was watching JT O'Sullivan's quarterback school film study on Hurts versus Washington Tuesday night. And it was funny because the same day I was watching, for some reason, I stumbled upon Jalen Hurts' draft journey before the 2020 draft, and it showed him sitting down with, his quarterback coach, Quincy Avery, who we actually had on Locked On Eagles before the season. And it was just interesting to see like Avery's critiques of Hurts and then, what O'Sullivan pointed out. And a lot of the criticisms and areas of improvement are still exactly the same that I want to see. I feel like right now they should be more improved by this point. Like, missing open targets, hesitation to throw with anticipation, especially in tighter windows. He's still very heel clicky with footwork. I don't know. I didn't realize how many plays he did in that first half against Washington, how many plays he left on the field because of his arm. So there's things in those areas, though, that I do still want to see improvement on. And I'm very curious to see, like, if the Eagles make the playoffs and if they play, Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or in the NFC, pretty much you're destined as the 7th seed to play a good quarterback in the first round. What I want to see is
third. Yeah,
right. So what I want to see is when the team knows you have to throw, when you have to keep up with a star quarterback like the Eagles have had to every game this year. They've played one because the defense hasn't been able to stop them. Then can you continue those development areas, those progressions you've made when it's obvious and when you have to do it over and over and over again? Can you get rid of that slow first half, the last 2 games, and put it all together? That's really, again, we've been saying it for about a month or two now because Hurts has continuously made smaller steps in his development. But now when it's obvious and when you have to do it consistently against a really good team, can you do it? So I feel like, that's why people say, like, what does making the playoffs matter for the Eagles? It really does matter because Geno can help you find out, it's not just a short-term thing. It can help you find out long-term answers. Like putting him in that kind of test will be fascinating to see how he does.
It's one of those things that you're never going to look back in an evaluation process and say making the playoffs was bad. Because you were at least
huge stage to see where it is. Yeah.
It's one of the games that if I'm looking at a player coming out of college, high school, the first game I'm going to how far they went in the playoffs, and I'm going to watch that game. I'm going to watch the best competition that they played during the most important time of the year. And you're exactly right, Lou. Even right now, you got to give them credit, though, because down the stretch, they didn't lose in the month of December. That's unbelievable. When is the most important time of the year in the NFL? December. Can you get it right down the stretch? And you got 2 more games. Again, maybe just one, with the Kirk Cousins news that he won't be playing against Green Bay. He might help us out there.
I did not hear
You did
that,
not
actually.
see that? Oh,
I've been living under a rock today. Oh my gosh, I did not know.
Kirk Cousins has COVID, and he will not be playing against the Green Bay
So
Packers.
It's up to Kellen Mond to save the season against Aaron Rodgers.
It is up to Kellen Mond to beat Aaron Rodgers.
Geno, man, the Eagles basically win on Sunday.
Davis Mills to beat not Jimmy G. Trey Lance. Lou, what more could you ask for? Trey Lance has a chance to help put the Eagles in the playoffs.
That would feel great.
As long as the Eagles handle their own business, which I completely think that they should.
Do need to handle
it.
This opportunity on Sunday is massive. They take care of business, Geno, and this isn't 2018 where you need Chicago to pull off that big win against Minnesota, or 2019 where you got to. The stakes are just as high.
2009, brother. I'll never forget the scenario there.
It's a lot more doable this year. They just got to handle business on Sunday, and it starts with Jalen Hurts. Guys, this is Locked On Eagles. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
But before we do that, we have a message from our great friends over at Built Bar. And you know what I'm having today. I haven't eaten yet, Lou. I'm too anxious for this Eagles game. It's right on the eve of some great football. But I'm going to sit down after this and have me some Built Bars. You know what? I'm going to grab a cup of coffee, and it's New Year's, so make sure you grab something that's healthy. It'll help you hit all your goals, and it's delicious. Come on. You're going to go into your candy jar. You're going to pull out a Built Bar because we're changing the calendar and we're changing our goals. We're getting healthy in 2022. We're going to be the best versions of ourselves, and it all starts with what you eat. Built Bars are delicious. They contain low calories, low carbs, low sugar, but they're high in protein. So those of you who want to build some muscle, those of you who want to lose some weight, turn it into the new year. Like myself, I ate a few too many cookies, Lou. I got to eat some more Built Bars, and that's exactly what I'll be doing.
My whole fridge right now is baked goods. I got to rely on these Built Bars.
Yeah, let me tell you,
Fight
as soon as 1/1 hits, I'm turning the calendar and I'm eating either salted caramel, a mint brownie, peanut butter brownie, raspberry, cookies and cream, whatever you like. Go to built.com today. Use the promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15 for 15% off of your order.
All right, guys, this is Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast, and we thank you for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. I'm Louis DiBiase. He's Gino Camilleri. Happy New Year, everybody. Today is Locked On QB1. We're getting into Jalen Hurts. And Gino, as you mentioned at the end of segment 1, Trey Lance starting for the 49ers against Houston, right? It's against the Texans.
Yes,
You've got Kirk Cousins out against Green Bay. Kellen Mond has to start a rookie quarterback against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, who are fighting for that first-round bye. If the Eagles win, it looks like they're going to be in the playoffs. And so it's a huge opportunity. And, Gino, it's a huge opportunity for a first-year starting quarterback, second year, but first time, full-time starting quarterback to get his team into the playoffs. And I was kind of thinking about it before the show, as I typically do, I like to compare it to past Eagles teams. And who does Jalen Hurts and this 2021 team remind me of a whole lot? Because it's I was thinking about it. If the Eagles get into the playoffs, is that the first time a quarterback in his first season as the full-time starter has made it? So it was Donovan McNabb, 2000. He was a full-time quarterback in year 2. They did make it that season. Nick Foles actually did it as well in 2013. So it was interesting, comparing Hurts and the 2021 Eagles to those squads. It does kind of give me 2013 Eagles vibes. You know what I mean? Where it's you have the way Nick Foles was on fire that year and Chip Kelly in that offense, right? It was a new head coach, a new quarterback, a super explosive offense that puts up points consistently. And like that team, you still kind of wonder with this one, especially the quarterback, is it sustainable, right? That next year, there was talk, I remember, even after that 27-2 performance when the Eagles were on the clock and Rich Eisen was talking about Chip Kelly recruited Johnny Manziel. Would this be a thing that they considered taking Johnny football? And it's, kind of the same thing this year. After what's going to be a really good, 2021 campaign, there's going to be talks about the Eagles and quarterbacks in this draft. So it does kind of give me 2013 vibes for sure.
I would even say it almost goes to the first year that Donovan started, because that was a team that had a sound defense, a team that was turning the corner, coming off of a bad 99 year. They had to turn the calendar, get a good quarterback. They did. They get McNabb. He goes in there with a good defense, and then the rest is history the next 4 years. Can they be like that team, Lou, or can they be the Chip Kelly team?
Which was way more sustainable. That was the first step into making multiple NFC titles. Yeah, that's the ideal comparison.
Yeah, and coming into this segment, we mentioned a lot of things, the Kirk Cousins news and Trey Lance having to beat Houston. I think the one thing that the Eagles have done well for now almost 2 decades is just controlling their controllables, just winning the games they have to win down the stretch. And it always seems, Lou, that they're always in the hunt, and they always have a chance in the last 2 weeks to pull out a miracle with all these different things going awry, and they do. I look back to that year they were the 6th seed, almost go to the Super Bowl, lose to Arizona.
2008,
They had to have everything go right for them, and it did. And now, once again, Lou, with a guy in Jalen Hurts who comes from Alabama, in Nick Saban's philosophy, above everything else, like Jalen Hurts says, don't eat the rat poison. Just control what you can control. They have a guy who right now, his one mission is to beat the Washington football team in a manner that should leave no doubts to how good he believes he is. Because right now, it comes down to how well your quarterback is going to perform. I don't care how well the defense is going to play, because if you lose to Washington, there's a chance you have to go and beat the Cowboys. Let's just handle our business now. Let's not even think about week 18.
Especially with Kirk out and Lance starting. You just beat Washington, and it's Ron Rivera
said in the middle of the table, man.
Right. And didn't Ron Rivera say at some point Kyle Allen might play? It might not even be Taylor Heineke the entire game. Just, do not, because Dallas, there's no scenario, Gino, where I think Dallas is going to rest starters, because even if Green Bay won this week, I mean, even if Dallas didn't have a chance at the 1 seed, which I think they're going to heading into week 18, but even if they didn't, you're going to want to, for seeding, not have to be the 4th seed. You're going to want to be the 2 or 3 because you don't want to play Arizona in the first round or San Francisco. I'd much rather play, although Philadelphia is a tough first round matchup as well. I would much rather play Philadelphia or Minnesota or New Orleans compared to those other teams. So, yeah, you got to take care of business now because Dallas is still going to be hungry in that game, and the Eagles have not had success against Dallas lately.
Yeah, our friend Marcus Mosier over at Locked On Cowboys said it. Somebody said that the Eagles would be one of the feistiest teams in the playoffs, and he said, I would be much more worried to play San Francisco. And quite frankly, I would too, with their defensive front, how well they're playing, how well Kyle Shanahan does.
Who knows? If Trey Lance gets hot and starts this Kaepernick 2012-like thing, it's dangerous.
And that's the thing, Lou. They're a team with expectations. They have something that they want to live up to, something that they want to look forward to. And I think Shanahan has Super Bowl on his mind. The Eagles are coming in here. They put their chips in the middle of the table, but that's house money. They're all in for this stretch right now just to continue this evaluation process. They didn't cut the season off at week 16 because they were eliminated. They're not eliminated. They still have at least 3 more weeks to evaluate this roster. And the most important person, Lou, QB1, we do a whole show on it each and every week for a reason. Put them in their own realm of importance for a franchise. Jalen Hurts can prove a lot. He could do a lot of, I would say, talking without talking by doing it on the field the last 3 weeks. And Lou, I want to come out, even if they do lose that first playoff game, right, and say, I think Jalen can compete with those guys. That's what I want to know by the end of this stretch. Because I think that's ultimately what you want to know your quarterback can do. Can he perform against an Aaron Rodgers, against the Dak Prescott, against the Tom Brady, even against the young Kyler Murray? Those teams in the NFC, we didn't even mention Matt Stafford. Like any of those quarterbacks, if you could keep that game within a score and your defense does enough to put your team in a position where you might be able to win one of those games, it's going to lay at the feet in the hands of Jalen Hurts, bro.
I mean, look at 2013, the year I was comparing it to. Nick Foles against Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. Like, he left the field, with the lead. And if you can do that kind of thing against a much better quarterback and a better team where, you maybe have the lead late or you're in it till the very end, that's something to feel really good about. I agree. I don't think they need to necessarily win a game if they make the playoffs, but it does go a long way still in the long-term evaluation to see, can Jalen Hurts hang with these quarterbacks? Can he be more like, even with Foles in 2013, even after that game, it still felt like, how sustainable really was that? It'd be awesome if it would be more like, the early 2000s with McNabb and Jalen, who, I don't know, he would probably compare most to a young McNabb right now, right? I mean, he doesn't have the explosiveness of a Vic or a Cunningham. He wasn't as big, but McNabb had very underrated mobility, and they both have that winning makeup. The question just is, with Hurts, can he take a 2004 step that McNabb did eventually?
Yeah, I would like to see that. And now, Lou, I think we at least have to give this kid 2022. Like, that's where you're at. Like, even if he wins,
unless
this
you could
game,
trade for Rodgers or Wilson, but I still very highly doubt. Well, and now too, because they're picking 19th, 20th.
Exactly.
I mean,
and the talks that they want to move 1 or 2 of those first round picks to 2023, you're at least going to have 1 or 2 picks to invest in your defense, which is also going to help your offense in a way. Or if you have a playmaker, like let's say Treylon Burks just continues to fall for some reason, and you want a number 2 receiver that's going to complement Devontae very well. I'm just speaking out loud here. Or even a Tyler Linderbaum on the interior offensive line. All of those moves would help your team and help the confidence of Hurts, saying that, okay, they are willing to build around me. I can't let 2022 be a slip-up year. So let's handle business in 2021. Or even the same,
if he –
exactly.
There's got to be a bigger step. Yeah, totally, but I think I agree with you. I mean, I still, and we'll talk about it in the offseason, if Hurts doesn't do much more and maybe takes a couple big steps back in the next few weeks and you miss the playoffs and I don't know,
you recognize, then we have concerns.
Right, and then maybe, I don't know, still if Corral was in range to trade up a little bit for Malik Willis, I still am not totally turning that off, but I agree, if Hurts keeps taking these steps and you do make the playoffs and you play well against another team's great quarterback, yeah, I think, if I was a betting man right now, I would say Jalen's the guy. in 2022. Guys, this is Locked On QB1. We'll continue this episode of Locked On Eagles coming up next. But today's show is sponsored by BetOnline, and BetOnline has you covered this holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through the College Bowl season and the Pro Football Playoffs. We've got Alabama and Cincinnati in just 15 minutes here from when Gino and I are recording. We'll see what happens with Desmond Ridder against that Crimson Tide defense. Make sure you bet on all the games this year, not just with football, but with basketball, the NHL, boxing, and UFC. Right to your favorite Vegas casino games at BetOnline, their website or mobile device, and sign up today to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That is when you use our promo code. It's Locked On, LOCKEDON, to receive your bonus. BetOnline is the fastest and the easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports, so don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing new offers available. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, guys, this is Locked On Eagles. We are Locked On QB1 today, as we always are on Fridays. And you can find all our shows on any podcast platform and on YouTube as well. We thank you for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. So, Gino, we're kind of talking about the Eagles got to take care of business still. They got to beat Washington, but with Kirk Cousins out on Sunday, with Trey Lance in for San Francisco, I think that helps out the Niners beat Houston potentially this week, and that'll put the Eagles into the playoffs. So we're not getting too ahead of ourselves. We're kind of taking a look okay, what's the next step? It would be Jalen Hurts playing really well and kind of going toe-to-toe with one of these quarterbacks you have to play in the playoffs. Right now, the Eagles at the 7 seed would play Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. And if they don't play them, it could be Aaron Rodgers or Matt Stafford or Tom Brady or Kyler Murray. No matter what, they're going to play a really good quarterback if they make the playoffs. So to wrap up the show, I was looking at the playoff picture. In both conferences, I don't know. I don't think Hurts is the worst quarterback in the playoffs. Would he be? I mean, I like him better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, I like him better than the Dolphins right now are the 7 seed. I'd take him over Tua. I would take him over Mac Jones and the Patriots, right? Where do you stand with that?
I don't know, man. I like Mac. I do like Mac Jones. I like what he is for that offense, but I mean, you can't say he's better than Aaron. You can't say he's better than Tom. Can't say he's better than Matt. Can't say
Ryan
he's better
Tannehill?
than Dak. Yeah, I would say he's on par with Tannehill. I think that
same tier
they kind of
right now
do a lot of the same things within a play action run based offense, which both of them kind of do. But you're right, Lou. I want to look back to the middle of the season when we were kind of outlooking this whole schedule, and it was the Raider game, the Denver game, the LA game, where you're going against these quarterbacks that are kind of in that same tier. I mean, Justin, of course, is much better. We know that. Go Ducks. Mm-hmm. But you're looking at Jalen Hurts to compete at least with the middle of the road guys, right? And then what can he do against tier 1 and 2? Mm-hmm. Because I think he's like a tier 3 guy right now. I think he should be on par with a lot of those guys, the Tannehills, the Jimmy G's. He should be able to compete against them. But in round 1, where you're going to have to elevate your roster, no way around it. You're going to be playing a better roster. You have to up your team, and it starts at the QB position. Can he do that? I'll be interested to see it. I mean, I think that LA game, if we could have saw what he did, if the defense got off the field, that would have been a good indication of what he might be able to do and what he might be able to translate into the playoffs. It's one of those things. I can't give you a firm yes or no answer. Is he going to do well? Is he not? I'm just interested to see it. I want to have the ability to evaluate a game like that. That's all I want. So handle it this week and get there.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless the chaos scenario ensues and Houston wins and we have a chance to get to the 6th seed. So we might actually have to play our starters against Dallas. Mm-hmm. But let's just handle our business, beat Washington, and let the rest do what it has to do.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, when you look at the games they've had this year, there's a lot that it's dependent on, I'm just thinking if the same scenarios that happened this year against these star quarterbacks likely play out in the playoffs, the defense has played a lot better, But Gino, against pretty much every top tier quarterback this year, they allowed an 80+% completion percentage. So I'm not saying Jalen Hurts would have to.
This defense playing
right.
This way.
So
we
that's the thing is
the offense playing that way against good teams.
So who knows? Maybe they would keep
different universe.
Yeah, maybe they would keep Matt Stafford in check, and maybe Jalen Hurts doesn't have to throw 40 times to win the game, and they can run the ball, and it doesn't have to be that kind of game.
Yeah, if they played Tampa, they didn't even run the ball against Tampa.
Exactly. Time. But those games, each time outside of the LA game, that situation pretty much did arise. So, and Hurts did not step up to the challenge. It wasn't all on him. It was the defense too, and they have to run more no matter what. But Jalen, in those situations this year, outside of the LA game, did not step up. He has improved. He's a very different player since that first half of the year when they were playing those guys. But, that first half against the Giants, like that's another example of like when he had to start throwing, when they knew they had to throw, he was inconsistent. So hopefully it'll be a big test, and hopefully he does step up to the challenge, because that's one thing Jalen Hurts does not shy away from is the big moment, and that'll definitely be one. They're going to be tested if they make the playoffs, but that's an exciting challenge, right? I mean, your first year, if you can do that and maybe step up, go toe-to-toe with the star QB, you can't ask for much else this year, considering where expectations were.
I think it's very kind of ironic that we're doing this in the wake of Alabama about to kick off in a playoff where they're the number 1 seed. And Jalen Hurts, how many times was he in that position with Bama, with a good team that he could have stepped up? Then Tua goes in. But then he does step up against Georgia in the SEC title when he has to come in. This guy, I bet, has such a big chip on his shoulder to prove everybody wrong. And that's the position I want my quarterback in. I want my quarterback to believe that they have the weight of the world on their shoulders, and that if they perform up to their ability, they could carry a team to the next level. And that's what I want. I want Jalen Hurts to show me in a big game he's a guy this team wins because of. And once I have that marker,
you need that on a shirt, Gino, like win because of.
Yeah, I'm a guy you win because of. That's what you want. In life, in any aspect, always be a person you win because of. And Jalen Hurts, I think his competitive attitude will get him there. I think his mental smarts and his ability with his athleticism is a very good combination. And we have 3 games left of this season, but it all comes down to going 1-0 here against Washington, Lou. I know we got a little long-winded talking in the future. If he goes out there and does what he does in that first half, which he did against the Giants, or in the first quarter against Washington, man, I would kiss the playoffs goodbye. But if he does what he did in the second half against the Giants and the final 3 quarters against Washington, man, they could finally maybe hit that 40-point marker, that 50-point marker. Like, it's right there. Like, it's there for the taking. Now go take it, stop shooting yourself in the foot, turn a new leaf going into 2022, and make things right, and go forward as this Philadelphia Eagles team, and make a mess of the playoffs as they always do. They always create chaos. I love the chaos factor, and the Eagles are the team that's going to do it.
The next time we are on the show, it will be the post-game show after the matchup against Washington. And maybe we're going to be talking about a playoff berth. Hopefully we are. Happy New Year, everybody. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On Eagles wherever you get the show. We're on Twitter as well, at Locked On Birds, at DiBiase, LOE, at GC24_football. And you can watch us as well on YouTube. We'll be back on Sunday. Enjoy your New Year's. Enjoy the game on Sunday, and we'll see you next time. For Gino Camilleri, I'm Lou DiBiase signing off. Thank you for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. As always, thank you for downloading. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And let's go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.